Finger Lakes region of upstate New York is known by tourists for a warm welcome, great lake life and stunning scenery. For lovers of motorsport since 1948, Watkins Glen means one of the toughest road racing circuits anywhere in the world. Originally on public roads, in the mid-1950s, Watkins Glen International took the races off those public roads and put them on a permanent track. The 3.4-mile 11 corners is the full Grand Prix circuit. Hosted 20 Formula One Grand Prix from 1961 onwards. The action areas, the downhill to turn 1, the chicane at the middle of the back straight, the inner loop, and up over the rise to the heel of the boot, the tricky right-hander at turn number 8. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindorf, welcoming you to the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama. And for this weekend, we're also joined by the runners in the Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Canada by Yokohama. It's all part of the 6 hours of the Glen, an IMSA weekend that celebrates everything endurance and GT racing. No worries about the choice of rubber, it's Yokohama and it's wet weather because it's raining. 2 different types of cars for this year. The Platinum class with black mirrors and black number panels is the new for 2017 version of the Cup car. Up to 2016 cars are in the Gold category class with the gold mirrors and the gold number squares. The Ultra 94 runners are identified by the yellow shade band across the top of their windscreen. It was perfect weather for the first Porsche race of the weekend, and the 24 of Jake Edson got away down into turn 1 and pulled out a bit of a gap on the Platinum class competition. The Gold category had its own start, and the 99 of Alan Mentney, very lucky, he lost it on some oil dry down from an earlier race, but managed to avoid any damage. The race-defining incident was at the start of lap number 2, when Etienne Bourdiat and Trenton Estep got together. Tim Sanderson, Orio Fidani, Mark Kavami, Alexandra Chatwin, Remo Rachetti, Stephen Tullman and Jeff Mosing all involved. Bourdiat, Estep, Mosing and Tullman all transported to local area hospitals, but none of them, fortunately, with life-threatening injuries. By the time the clear-up had been completed, there was no time to restart the race, and IMSA will reschedule this round at a later date. So as we head towards the green flag for the feature race, there's no change in the point standings from when we arrived here at the Glen. Jake Edson with a 7-point lead over Trenton Estep, because he's not taking part in this race. In the Gold category, Fred Keimer has a 2-point advantage over Fazekas, with De Angelis, Gomez the 4th and Frank Razzo the next 4 in line. So with many cars damaged beyond repair for this race, it's not quite the full grid we were expecting here at the Glen. The weather will make things even more difficult. Full concentration required by the remaining competitors. The Miami Blue Porsche safety car taking them round to assess just how slippery it is. It'll be green flag at the Glen next. Rain still falling here at Watkins Glen International for the 8th round of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama, along with our Ultra 94 Porsche GT Cup Canada by Yokohama runners. There will be not 1 but 2 safety cars out on the circuit, because the Gold Cup category cars get their own start, led by the number 78 of Roman De Angelis, who's actually entered in both the US and the Canadian versions of the championship. Currently standing in 4th in the US category. He hasn't done all the rounds, but he's by far the class of the field, having qualified as high as 14th in the overall standings. He only missed that big accident yesterday because of the fact that we had the split start for the Platinum and Gold Cup cars. Now, we were hoping for a green flag at the end of this lap, but we're hearing from race control that the start will now be behind the 2 safety cars because of the weather conditions. Smart move, I think, from the guys in race control. Minutes on the clock. We barely got a lap of racing yesterday in the first scheduled race, which was in fact called a no race, and it will have to be fitted in somewhere else in the championship season. And as the cars come around at the end of the first sighting lap, there's one finger above the starter's stand from Dennis Paul, with yellow flags out. Now, has the clock started? Yes, it has. We are under race conditions, but behind the safety car. So this is to give the drivers the opportunity to sample the conditions, try and get some heat in the Yokohama wet tyres. The Goldfield still just coming out through turn number 10, the penultimate corner, the left-hander, the last left-hander before that awesome right-hander. It's normally nearly flat, just lift and back on again. And you drift out towards the wall, and that's where we find out who is the bravest of them all. Two classes of cars, the Canadian and the American series, brought together courtesy of the fact that both of these cars run, both these championships run the same cars, and for the last couple of 3 seasons they've all been on Yokohama tyres. Wasn't able to do that before, although they were both IMSA sanctioned series. There were 2 different tyre brands, well now both on Yokohama, so we've had these really very entertaining combined races. Now, although the races are combined, the points scored are for the individual championship. So if you win outright, then obviously you're going to take top points for your championship. If the top finisher of the other championship is even down in, say, 6th, 7th, 10th or 11th, it doesn't matter, they will still get the winning points for their championship. 42 minutes now, the green flag is in hand on the starter stand. Ahead of us, points positions for Canadian and US Championship. Great start from Jake Edson, who really caught everyone behind him slightly unawares. 1, 2, 3 wide across the line, and the huge ball of spray for everyone behind the leader to deal with into the first corner. Tricky downhill braking manoeuvre. Jake Edson gets the start. Scott Hargrove and Zach Robichaw and Will Hardiman. Tony Imperato there looking to the inside for a moment, but I don't think he made up his position. Still sits in 5th position, but what a fantastic start by Jake Edson. He did exactly what he needed to do.
He did indeed, John, and gave the apex down in turn 1 there, a wide berth as well. Very smart, as water often collects down there.
Here comes Roman De Angelis, Kurt Fasikas right in behind him, then Victor Gomez the 4th, and Alan Mentney, who lost it going down into the first corner last time, and Victor Gomez makes up positions. He goes down the inside. That's a dangerous line to take, but he's made it stick side by side coming through turn 1 and off onto the runoff area. But again, the poleman, Roman De Angelis, in this case, has got the best start. And there has been a shunt further up the road, and that's coming out of the bus stop, the inner loop. The 63 car is the one that is damaged, and that is a car that's going to crawl back through. Now, what a shame that was, because Mackay Snow was running up in the top 6, right behind Anthony Imperato for the top 6 positions. Corey Ferguson there and Andrew Long as well. Now, did he lose it? He did. Too much curb on the left-hand side, coming through the middle of the inner loop, the bus stop chicane, and heavy contact to the outside wall on driver's left coming out. That is quick. I know it's a chicane, Jeremy, but you take a lot of speed through there. We've got a full course yellow for debris on the circuit.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And for Mackay Snow, this track last year gave him his best results. He finished in 3rd place in race 2 here 1 year ago. Qualified on the front row for the US Series. He's qualified 2nd fastest amongst the US contenders for both races last season, but not able to replicate that form this season. He was still running pretty solidly there among the top 10 until having this incident at the inner loop. So that's going to put him to the back of the pack. Good call there by the IMSA officials to put out the full course caution.
Yeah, it had to be done with the debris right on the exit line of the inner loop. Just checking to make sure that as people come to the line, they see the full course yellow, the double yellows, and slow down. We don't get we don't get anybody running into the back. McKay has made it back into the pit lane, but I'm not sure what the team will be able to do with that. The Wright Motorsports Snow Racing team are ready to receive the 63 car. The Porsche safety car pulls away, right-handed into the pit lane, through turn 10. A little bit of weaving from Jake Edson. That's all right at the moment, but once he gets onto the start line, he'll have to straighten that up, and he's gone again. He's used that weaving again to distract Scott Hargrove. A great tactic there. And he'll go across the line with 4, 5, 6 cars lengths. It's an even better start this time than when we first went to green. Down to turn 1, watching behind the leaders as Will Hardiman trying to go down the inside there, but he couldn't make that stick. Anthony Imperato was having a look as well. Corey Fergus, Andrew Long trying to make up positions in the 47. Sebastian Landy was another driver who missed the big conflagration yesterday by, well, I'm not sure he even knows. Terry Borchella, his spotter yesterday, found him a hole and he went through it. Top 6 then. 24, 9, 98, 19, 91 and 00. Corey Fergus. And already 3 seconds between the top 6 as Jake Edson gets another picture-perfect start.
He does. So advantage USA at the moment. USA driver Jake Edson out front. Then 2 Canadians, Scott Hargrove and Zerk Robichaw. And then Will Hardiman, Anthony Imperato, Corey Fergus, Andrew Long and Sebastian Landy, all representing the IMSA Porsche GT3 Cup challenged by Yokohama, USA.
Roman De Angelis, 18th position at the moment. Victor Gomez, the 4th, who made the best start of the gold class drivers. Neil Walker's dropped down behind those guys in the Platinum Masters class, which is led by, at the moment, by Sean McCaig in the 34 car in 11th position. 77 is
Patrick Dosalt.
Yes.
Who's making the move into Porsches this season. He's got a lot of wet weather experience, gained from racing in Formula Fords in the UK with the Clip Dempsey racing for a couple of years. But had a brief chat to him yesterday. He's thoroughly enjoying driving these Porsches, and he was a bit disappointed himself in qualifying. He said a really good lap going, a second and a half up on his previous best. It would have put him among the top half a dozen, he thought, perhaps. However, he admitted he made a mistake, got a bit too greedy in turn 8, I think it was, and lost a lot of ground. So he was disappointed with himself there, but loving driving these Porsches.
9th position for Patrick Dosalt at the moment. And remember, these cars without ABS, so moderating the brake pedal is all part of the skill. And a spinner coming onto the short course is Sean McCaig, the leader of the Platinum Masters class, with a new and as yet unliveried rear bump. He's got all the right stickers on it, and he's going to have to be very careful here as the rest of the gold class cars are coming around. He does manage to get it pointing in the right direction. Finally, went past the entrance onto the short course and did his U-turn on a part of the track that's not being used. Obviously under instruction there from the corner workers. Jake Edson has a second at the head of the field over Scott Hargrove, 24 from 9. Zach Robichaud, another second further back in 3rd. Will Hardiman unable to hold on to the top 3. The 19 car, 3.4 away from the leader and 1.3 away from Robichaud in 3rd position. Hardiman into turn 6 has got Anthony Imperato right in his wheel tracks. Imperato using a little more of the circuit, looks a bit more comfortable in that 91 car in these wet conditions, perhaps than Hardiman ahead of him.
He's been fast all weekend as Anthony Imperato qualified a magnificent 4th for the first race yesterday. 1 position farther back today, but still that's a really good run for Anthony. He's been faster all weekend long in that Wright Motorsports entry. He's from Jersey City in New Jersey, lives in Brooklyn now, and he is
he looks good.
The pressure on Will Hardiman. Much quicker through turn 8 than Will Hardiman, but not able to make the move there. Can you look at the inside in turn 9? No, he cannot. Sure, going back to Sean McCaig, by the way, he, as you said, taken over the lead in the Masters category from Marco Cironi, which is no mean feat. Those two battling for the Masters Cup up in Canada as well.
So this battle for 4th and 5th position comes back to us here on the start-finish line through the banked right-hand final corner. Behind them, Andrew Long in the 47. Corey Fergus in the 00, Long in the 47 with the blue colour scheme. Across the line then goes Hardiman. The 19 car braking right in the middle of the road, trying to find some grip, turns in, and Imperato much later on the brakes. 47 in 6th position, trying to close on them, has got Corey Fergus in the 00, not too far away, and behind Corey is the... I keep thinking that the 49 car should be a plain white car, because it was for the longest of times from Sebastian Landy, but landed himself some sponsorship.
Which he's had over the last couple of years. It's Forte Coffee, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's the brown and red car now.
Yeah. But the new fastest race lap there for Scott Hargrove last time around. That's at Castro Livery Pfaff Motorsports, car number 9 in 2nd place. Chasing down Jake Edson, who's half a second faster on that last lap. But now Jake Edson goes purple, fastest sector of the race so far through the first portion of this 3.4-mile racetrack.
The Roman De Angelis, a Gold Cup leader, a Gold Class leader, up to 14th, by the way. And Victor Gomez, the 4th, picking his way through some of the Platinum Class leaders, runners as well. Side by side for the lead of the motor race.
Wow!
And Scott Hargrove has just pulled off one of the moves of all time. Around the outside at the toe of the boot, in the wet. My goodness me, that is a young man that has some confidence in his Yokohama tyres and that number 9 Pfaff Motorsports Porsche underneath him. Across the line, the leaders, Hargrove now by 2.2 seconds. Zach Robichaw just closing in a tad last time around, about half a second on Jake Edson. 24 and 98, 2nd and 3rd. Then Hardiman, Imperato, Fergus, Long and Landy still having that cracking battle as they go up through the S's for their 8th time. Just under half an hour to go. 2nd race of the weekend for the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama, the Canadian and US Series together here at Watkins Glen. And here comes Landy. He's got the right side of the track, which is the right side of the track, going down in the braking area for the inner loop, and he makes it. Can he keep the car on the island? Got to stay out of the water as he comes out of the inner loop, and he does. Super piece of driving. That was tiptoey. You could almost feel him just holding the wheels with his finger ends as he was balancing the car through the chicane there at the inner loop, and now goes down towards turn 6, the tricky left-hander with its downhill braking area, stays away from the apex of the corner, the inside, just again searching. Watch the front wheels on these Porsches, the Yokohama tyres. You can see the guys searching for grip, just turning and feeling where the grip is, not just turning in and leaving the tyres scrubbing across the tarmac. They are really searching and working behind the steering wheel. Another good first half of the lap by our leader Scott Hargrove, almost 3 seconds to the good now, and Zach Robichaw just chipping away. Jake Edson took half a second last time around. He's took another 10th or so in the first half of this lap, Jeremy.
Yes, he has indeed, and Zachary Robichaud certainly running nicely in that 3rd position for Mark Motors Racing. He's trying to make it a Canadian 1-2. But meanwhile, there is another battle a little bit further back. Patrick Dassault now coming under pressure from Michael De Quesada in car number 31. Michael De Quesada is one of the younger drivers in the field, and he is contesting this weekend the Canadian Championship. He won the Gold Cup class last year, 17 years of age, from Tampa, Florida. But the team sponsor for Allegra Motorsports is the Porsche Centre of Oakville in the Ontario area, so he is representing Canada and having a good battle there. That is for position in the Canadian Championship car between Dassault and De Quesada, and the battle for effectively the final podium position, 9th and 10th overall, but for 3rd and 4th in the Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada by Yokohama.
Kurt Fasicus in 3rd position in the gold category. Fred Keimer in the 23 car in 4th, and right behind him Alan Mentney, who took a bit of a wild ride in the opening run down to the first corner in the race that wasn't yesterday, on the oil dry that had been on the inside of the corner from a previous race. But he is reveling in these conditions, the iFly sponsored Porsche. And he's going to challenge here He's going to try and go round the outside. That would be very brave at turn 1. Can he get the old over and under? He might be able to. Oh, had to check up in the middle of the corner. Fred Keimer, seasoned campaigner, just stood the 23 car up in the middle of the bend to check the progress of the white and red 99 sitting in behind him. Up through the S's. Very quick here, even in the wet.
And Fred Keimer it is who leads the Gold Cup category coming into this weekend by 2 points over Kurt Fazekas. Roman De Angelis, despite missing the last 2 rounds at Circuit of the Americas, still running in 3rd place in that class overall in the championship, with the 3 wins and a 3rd that he had from the first 2 race weekends of the season. That's a big moment for Alan Metney.
Yeah, got on the power just a tiny little bit early, but he held the slide. He doesn't seem to have lost any ground, maybe even made a little bit up here. Yeah. Took a little more momentum than I think he was expecting into the outer loop. Still very slippery here at Watkins Glen International. John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw describing the action. And off has gone Sebastian Landy. Landy with damage to the right-hand side. The mirror folded in and the right front wing, the fender, has got damage. So he has visited the scenery. Looks like it's the blue wrapping from the tyres or the safer barrier as paint on his car rather than someone else's Porsche.
Somewhere in the middle lap in the 2nd sector is where he lost about 7 seconds on that last lap, so he's now down into the 10th position overall. Is Sebastian Landy in that 4-toe strong coffee Alex Job Racing caliber 49. Damage, as you can say, as you said, John, to the right front in particular on that machine. Meanwhile, my eyes are on Roman De Angelis in caliber 78. He's up to 12th position overall and tracking down the Masters leader, which is also his Mark Motors Racing teammate, Marco Cironi. In fact, the car that Roman De Angelis is driving is the car that Marco...
Turn 6.
Yeah. And the car that Roman is driving is Marco's old car, and he's trying to take it to the veteran now.
So the evidence clear that Sebastian Landy missed his braking point going downhill into turn 6 and clouted the wall driver's right. He's bounced off and then now he stopped.
Oops.
Now the radiators are still in the front corners of these Cup cars in the Le Mans GT cars, and the GTE cars, they've moved them into the centre of where the luggage compartment would be so that they aren't quite as vulnerable. And what Sebastian Landy has done rather sensibly is taken this shortcut, and he's in the gap between where the guys go round the back of the Grand Prix loop. So that's not a piece of circuit that is being used. That won't cause any issues in terms of race control. Drivers now starting to look for wet patches on their Yokohama wet tyres. Still 21 minutes to go, and the track is drying. Great dive down the inside by the 98 car.
Yeah, mistake there from Jake Edson. That has opened a door as they go around to turn 2 and up the hill. This is where the crash was yesterday, and Edson kind of opened the door there for Zachary Robichaw, but Zachary very wisely decided not to press the issue. That is a battle for position overall, but not for championship points. So for Zachary, from Zachary's perspective, there's no point in being over-aggressive here. He's running in second. You get second place points if he finishes 3rd overall in the Canadian Series. There's a big slide for Jake Edson going through the inner loop. Wow.
And Zachary Robichaw taking a lot of curb, touring car style. Relatively short race, of course, just 45 minutes, but the suspension takes a heck of a beating if you go. Those curbs look fairly innocuous. Oh, huge slide by Jake Edson. Is he going to hold on to it? He just about is. Do you know what? I think he might be running out of tyre here. He was looking for the wet patches down the start-finish line, and I wonder if he's tried too hard. And CJ Wilson is off at the side of the circuit, and that, I think, is facing the wrong direction. He is off on the grass, and I think he's gone in there backwards. Yes, he has, and that is the exit of turn number 1, heading to turn number 2. He's looped it on the red and yellow curbing coming out of turn 1. It's a shame, he was having a decent run.
Yeah, he was in 13th position.
Now he's got to wait for a gap in the traffic. Very easily done down there as the car runs onto those curbs. If you run over the edge of them, you just unload the suspension. And yeah, that's exactly what he did. Hit the curb on the far side, just tagged the left rear of the car on the exposed arm core.
This is lucky weekend for CJ
Is it
Wilson.
ever?
Yesterday in qualifying, and a huge spin coming into the final corner, turn 11, as we watch Anthony Imperato. They're getting together with Peter Baljet from Canada. He's
putting a lap on him, is he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, he is. That was a little unkind from Anthony.
Yeah, it was rather.
Peter Baljet, Jeremy, is pointing in the right direction. The 15 car, a little bit of damage on the left front as he comes round in front of us here on the start-finish line. And Sebastian Landy stopped. He's on the link. That's sensible. That won't bring out a yellow. Treacherous conditions here at Watkins Glen International for the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama. Both the US and the Canadian championships represented here in the battle for second position overall in the platinum category. Zachary Robichaw in the 98 car with the yellow banner on the top of his windscreen. He's from the Canadian Championship. Ahead of him was Jake Edson in the 24 with the white IMSA banner on. They get points in their own championship, but believe you me, they're battling for pride as well. Scott Hargrove leads with 17.5 minutes to go. The gap is 5 seconds, and Hargrove is still pushing at the front of the field. Edson and Robichaw continue their battle, 24 and 98, second and third, with Will Hardiman in fourth. Then Imperato, Fergus and Andrew Long just dropping away from that in the 47 car and being caught by Patrick Dassault for the 7th and 8th position battle. Meantime,
huge battle going on amongst the Gold Cup contenders for, I think that's for about 4th or 5th position back. And there's a whole string of cars there, led by Martin Harvey from north of the border. Then Mark Cavami is in there as one of the platinum cars. Michael Levitas in car number 36. He's a former champion in the Gold Cup category. Oh, there's Zachary Robichaw.
Change of position for second. Zach Robichaw has gone through to second position and immediately starts to pull some time back on the leader. 16.5 minutes to go, and he is so leaning on that car. And the way he goes through the chicane as well, the inner loop, the bus stop, Jeremy, he takes way more curve than anybody else. What he's doing is setting it up almost rally driver style early, and he gets the car straightened up in the middle section super quick so that he can get the power on right over that inner curb and just shoots out of there a good 5 or 6 miles an hour quicker than anybody else I've seen. Yeah. He's really got that nailed.
He's dirt tracking, but I tell you what, dirt tracking it is. Jake Edson, he's really struggling with the back end of that number 24 car for Kelly Moss Road Race. That car is all over the place. Luckily, both of these two have a lot of Formula Ford experience, so they're used to driving sideways. It's a big moment it was for Jake Edson in the final corner. That's what enabled Zachary Robichaw to get the run down the front straight and take that second place.
Coming out of the final corner, turn 11, the right-hander, he got onto the painted white line for the pit lane entry right down. It's not a bad idea to get in there because you can use the camber to help you and sort of almost ditch hook, get that front wheel right down there. But he just caught the painted white line, which very slippery, of course, under wet weather conditions, as he was getting back on the throttle, and that stuck him about half a car's width offline, which meant he was half a car's width closer than he wanted to be to the outside wall. Very sensibly, I think he lifted off there. May have lost a position, but keeps the car underneath him. Robichaw, by the way, absolutely flying, released like a cork from a bottle from behind Jake Edson, and with 15 minutes to go, Hargrove leads by now only 4.1 seconds. The better part of a second already being eaten out of the lead by Zach Robichaw as they chase towards the last quarter of an hour here in the second race of the weekend for the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama at Watkins Glen. Great battles going on down the field, Jeremy, as ever, with Roman De Angelis leading the Gold Cup category now in 11th position. But Victor Gomez the fourth, Kurt Fazekas and Fred Keimer chasing in behind. And then Well, we've got a mix of Platinum Masters and Gold Cup guys running together and having a great time.
We have Charlie Luck there just making a move on Martin Harvey going into the inner loop, and Alan Metney following him through as well. So Martin Harvey's scrabbling around there for grip in that number 08 car. That's a McDonald's car from north of the border. Tremendous battling going on here.
Impressed with Alan Metney, actually. Had that nasty spin at the very start of the race that we didn't get completed yesterday, and both the championships will reschedule that round at some stage in the future. But Alan really could have given himself a scare, but has come back in these very difficult conditions and driven very, very well indeed. 08 is Martin Harvey, and he's got the 42 car sitting right in behind him.
Will Smith looking for a way past there, and this battle also involved in that battle is Frank Razzo is right in there in car number 10, and Neil Walker also in car number 71. So, as you say, a mixture of Gold Cup and Platinum Masters, but they're all having a tremendous dice out and really having fun. The new fastest lap of the race, meanwhile, John, by Zachary Robichaw in that second place, car number 98 for Mark Motors Racing.
And all of a sudden, that gap that was 5 seconds when Scott Hargrove had Jake Edson in second place is now under 3.5 seconds. Zach Robichaud chasing on. I was going to say, those guys, Jeremy, that we're talking about, a mixture of US cars, Canadian championship cars, platinum and gold. Doesn't matter to them, they're just having a race.
Absolutely right, yes,
I've got someone in front of me or behind me, I'm racing them.
I am indeed.
This is not about points at this point.
And there's Scott Hargrove taking again a very, very wide line in turn 1. Again, staying away from the apex there in these slippery conditions. We'll see how that works out. But let's look at the sector times.
Look at Robichaud though. Robichaud now 2.5 seconds further back, and a spin for Andrew Long, the 7th place 47 car, final corner. Now he's going to get away with that if he can get it down the hill and restart it. He's going to have to wait, and gets it around just about. Now don't spin it up on the grass, Andrew. No, well done. Zach Robichaud under 2 seconds now. He can see the leader, and Scott Hargrove. I wonder if he's saving some tyres, but it's getting much drier on the racing line. Just a little bit too much pace, by the way, taken in the final corner by Andrew Long, and he just catches the protective tyres rather than hitting the safer barrier.
Yeah, good point.
It's not a concrete wall there, although it may look like it. It is a proper safer barrier installed, and we've got a battle for the lead, Jeremy. 11 3/4 minutes to go, and Scott Hargrove is closing in on Zach Robichaud.
Yeah, and we talked about Scott Hargrove's wide line around turn 1, and we're waiting for the sector times. Well, through that first sector, Zachary Robichaud closed in another half a second on that lap, another half a second in sector 2 as well. So Zachary Robichaud clearly, or perhaps, has got his car set up more for the slightly drier conditions, perhaps working to its favour. Now it's really closing in, and Jake Edson is dropping back now into the clutches of Will Hardeman in car number 19, and that is a battle for the lead in the USA Championship.
That's a very good point, 24 and 19. So 2 of the Ultra 94 cars battling at the front of the field, and once again it's the Canadian Championship guys who are at the fore, and this will be stinging the American Championship runners. Well, the weather hasn't dampened the spirit of competition from these Porsche GT3 Cup drivers here at Watkins Glen. This is the battle for the lead. Coming out of the inner loop again.
He's got his nose inside.
Zachary loves that part of the circuit. He's on the inside. He's going to be on the wrong side of the circuit going downhill to turn 6, but he might be able to make it stick. He gets squeezed just a little bit. He's going to hang it out there. The 98 car round the outside. Zachary Robichaud has got it hooked up, but he's got traffic ahead. A huge sideways moment from the leader, Scott Hargrove. Brilliant driving by both. Hargrove tries to come down the inside into turn 6, but he's lost the lead, and the 98 cars goes through. Brilliant driving by both, and that was Porsche Cup racing at its absolute zenith. Around, though, has gone Martin Harvey in the McDonald's car, the McDrive car, facing the wrong direction. Let's hope he can get that one back in the right, pointing in the right direction. Touch at turn number 8, and round goes Robichaud. Get down through the gearbox, son, and get up on the road. Edson's a long, long way back. Couldn't get the gearbox to go down through the gears, and Robichaw, with just 7 minutes left, has it all to do again.
He dived inside there, Charlie Luck, who was being lapped in car number 45. Did everything right there. He's on the defensive line, effectively, Robichaw. And Scott Hargrove just stuffed it up the inside, made contact with the rear of Robichaw's car and turned him around. That's going to be looked at by the stewards for sure.
Has to be. That's the lead of the race, Jeremy. 6 minutes to go. He just braked a fraction too late. There's no intent there, I'm absolutely certain, but he just didn't get his braking point right. Martin Harvey turned 6. Now, did he get some help? Yes, he did, from Will Hardiman coming through to lap the 08 car. So Hardiman helps Martin Harvey around. That's 4th position and 2nd in the American Championship as far as the positions are at the moment. Let's just recap what's going on. Zach Hargrove.
This will take a while, John.
6 minutes to go. Zach Hargrove now has 6.5 seconds of a lead on Zach Robichaw, who will be intensely fired up in 2nd position, and in fact took some 5 seconds out of Hargrove in the 1st sector. So what's happened to Hargrove there? He's got damage on the front of his car, and that may be slowing him down. I wonder if he's done some damage to the radiators and he's starting to overheat. Those two are battling for the lead in the Canadian part of this race. Jake Edson and Will Hardiman now have 3.2 seconds behind them, as Hardiman was held up in traffic. 24-19 battling for the American part of that. Corey Fergus is catching Anthony Imperato for 5th and 6th position. Michael De Quesada has now got Roman De Angelis ahead of him, who's got past Marco Cironi. De Angelis leading the Gold Cup class in 9th. Cironi, the Platinum Masters in 10th. Mark Motors having a fantastic run at the moment. And Roman De Angelis lapping in a 2 minutes 10.977. The only 2 guys quicker than him on the track at the moment, Jake Edson and Scott Hargrove, who are respectively leading their 2 parts of the race. And the leader's got a problem. Now, has he reset? I think that's a really sensible thing to do. I think he has made restitution there. Now, whether he was told to or not, that will save him getting a drive through and keep him in 2nd position. If he hasn't been told, heads up by him and the team.
Yep.
So that's a good tactical piece of driving. He's allowed Zach Robichaw to go back through into the lead.
Yes, I'm absolutely sure you're right there, John, and it was a really smart call, because if he'd been called for a drive-through penalty, that would have dropped to a long way down the order. He would have lost several positions in the Canadian class, but now he's only lost to 1 to Zachary Robichaud.
What a drive by Patrick Dassault as well. The 77 car in 7th position is the black and red rather than the red and black of the 2 cars that are battling for that position. 7th and 8th, it's Michael De Quesada who is sitting in behind him. Almost the opposites of each other in terms of their colour schemes down into turn 1.
Yeah, Dassault, I think, just made that pass on the previous lap, I think, to get past Michael De Quesada. So that's been a good battle there. That's ranging for 7th and 8th overall, and that will be 3rd place in the Ultra 94 Canada Series.
Victor Gomez, the 4th, having made that early move into 2nd position in the Gold Cup category, has held on to that. He's 15th overall, but Kurt Fazekas just beginning to close in on the 25. So the 25 and the 52 battling for 2nd and 3rd. Fred Keimer about 4 seconds further back down the road in the 23 for the last step on the podium. There is that 77 of Patrick Dassault. This has been a very good run, but he's just a little bit circumspect going round the inner loop and through again.
No, that's CJ Wilson who's being passed there by Michael De Quesada.
My apologies.
Because Patrick Dassault got past CJ through the inner loop, but Michael De Quesada was not able to, had to follow CJ Wilson around, and finally in the outer loop he made that pass.
Yeah, my apologies, just glanced up from the screen. CJ, by the way, in 24th position and 12th at the moment in the Platinum class. Check that, 10th in the Platinum class. 00 is Corey Fergus. Behind him, Anthony Imperato. That's the battle for 5th and 6th. Ahead of them, the 42 is Bill Smith in that bright orange machine. Now that is a car that is a lap down, or will be when these guys go through. And into the pits, Scott Hargrove. Scott Hargrove into the pits now. That surely is a drive-through for the contact. Unless he's got overheating problems. Let's see if he goes straight through. Well, there's people in. He's been waved straight out. He has been waved straight out, so that will be a drive-through.
That's unusual. I thought
the restitution was a good idea, but it doesn't, of course, stop the clerk of the course, the race director, saying, well, I'm sorry, mate, yes, you've done the right thing, but we're going to make an example of you, I suppose.
Now, where's he going to come out? Is that going to enable Dassault and De Quesada to go through?
Yeah, I think they will.
It is.
It's going to be very close. And we thought that Scott Hargrove was struggling a little bit with grip as the leader, Zach Robichaw, goes round the outside of the 36 car, Michael Levitas, who is 5th in the gold class.
De Quesada's got back ahead of Dassault.
Yeah, correct. And they've come out right behind Scott Hargrove. So that is 2nd, 3rd and 4th, isn't it? In the Ultra 94 class. Jake Edson, by the way, has steadied the ship. And with the last lap flag having been displayed, the checkered flag is being readied. And it looks like Jake Edson is going to hold on to the win for the US part of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge. Oh, the 77's gone off right at the end.
Oops.
Dassault at turn 6 in exactly the same place as Sebastian Landy went off earlier on and deranged the tyres, but got away with it. I'm afraid Patrick Dassault has certainly not got away with it. Last corner for the 98 of Zachary Robichaud. What a drive it's been for Mark Motors Racing's pilot. He comes across the line and claims top points in the Canadian part of the race. Jake Edson is some 6 seconds further back down the road. In fact, 5 at the end. Will Hardiman couldn't keep up his pace. Will come through in 3rd overall, 2nd of the US category. Corey Fergus coming in just ahead of Anthony Imperato. Those two had a race-long battle, the 00 on the 91. Waiting for Scott Hargrove, there he goes. So he will be 2nd in the Ultra 94, the Canadian part of the race, from 3rd Michael De Quesada. And Marco Cironi takes the Platinum Masters.
He does, and
he got back ahead of Roman De Angelis there on the last lap, who has come through to win the gold, the combined gold category, because he's headed in both of them.
Indeed, a couple of laps ago, Marco clearly decided that youngsters needs to be put in his place, put his foot down. Not only put his foot down, he set the fastest lap of the race, Marco Cironi, 2 laps from the end, outright at a 2:05.860 on the penultimate lap when he regained that overall position from Roman De Angelis. But what a fabulous day for Mark Motors Racing. Zachary Robichaud takes the overall victory and maximum points in the Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada by Yokohama.
Zach Robichaud climbs out of his number 98 Porsche. Great joy from the Mark Motors team on what's been a difficult weekend. And of course, it's beautiful weather now here at Watkins Glen International. Great racing, fabulous drive from Zach.
You know, it was my first time ever driving a sports car in the rain. And so a lot of these guys, they raced at Barber and did some testing in the rain. So the first few laps, I was very cautious. But then once I sort of felt the limit of these tires and this car, I really started to feel that, you know, we really could come in, and the setup on the car was fantastic. As the track dried up, our car got better and everybody else seemed to struggle. So that, you know, this one is more about the crew than about me, because the car was definitely the best one out there. So it was a really great race. It's unfortunate what happened with Scott. It was really, it was an awkward situation with the lap car, and I know he didn't do it on purpose. So, you know, that happens, but overall it was a really great race for the Mark Motors Racing crew.
Let's confirm the final results then. Zach Robichaud for Mark Motors Racing taking the top step of the podium and full points for the Canadian Championship. Jake Edson won't be happy with being beaten to the checkered flag, but still gets his points as the first USA runner home. In the gold category, winning both versions of the championship, that was Roman De Angelis, and he was well up the platinum class as well. That is a name to watch for the future.
It was a really tough race, to be honest with you. I was battling with Marco, my teammate who's in platinum. But because we had to start behind, because I'm in gold, right? I had a lot of cars to get through to be where I was. So I think like the biggest thing about this race was the overall position. So I'm really happy about that. The track started drying throughout the race, and it made it really, really hard because the tires were wearing out. I had really bad vibration, so no, it was a really hard race. So yeah.
The platinum category looks a little different. Jake Edson still on top, but Trenton Estep, having not taken part in the point-scoring race, is now 28 back, with Corey Fergus in third position in the 00. For gold category, it's a new second-place runner. Just 5 back from Fred Kamer, Roman De Angelis has gone ahead of Kurt Vasigas. Well, we trade one classic road racing venue for another, because next, the Porsche GT3 Championship heads to Road America and to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For Jeremy Shaw and the rest of our hard-working crew in upstate New York, I'm John Hindhaugh. Make sure you join us for the next action from the Porsche GT3 Cup USA by Yokohama.